I'm a Zen capybara, but I've transmigrated into the body of a tragic wife and inherited all her overwhelming emotions. My husband dotes on his childhood sweetheart, and even our son desperately wants her to be his mother. Perfect. I don't want to do anything anyway. Late one night, when my husband received a call from her and tried to sneak out, I covered my suddenly aching heart and offered him his jacket. Kim's hushed phone conversation woke me. He deliberately kept his voice low as he got up, soothing his childhood sweetheart on the other end. He quickly dressed, grabbed his car keys, and was about to rush out. Wait. Hearing my voice, his expression immediately shifted. Liliana is home alone right now, and the power's out. I put your jacket on before you go. It's getting cold. His impatient look morphed into shock, and he stared at me in disbelief for a moment. But I simply turned over, sluggishly, absently rubbing my heart, which had been aching for a while. Seeing that I wasn't crying or making a scene as usual, Kim walked over and kissed my forehead. Don't throw a tantrum. I'll be back soon. I nodded, feeling nothing in particular, though the pain in my chest intensified. I heard the door click shut, then lazily got up and took a painkiller. It still didn't do much, but at least it offered some psychological comfort. I've been in this world for over 2 months since the original owner's suicide. Kim was always like this, and I couldn't be bothered to get angry. Anger for a capybara is a hassle. This was especially true because I still inherited all of the original owner's emotions, especially when I woke up early to make breakfast for Oscar. He complained my cooking was terrible, frowning as he tossed all the food he disliked into the trash. Mom, I've told you so many times I want a Western breakfast. Why does Aunt Liliana always remember, but you never do? The disdain on his face was obvious. I should have been angry, but I just calmly sipped my fish porridge, then go eat with her. Oscar, who had been full of complaints moments before, choked on his unspoken words. My well-meaning suggestions sounded like viciousness to him. He immediately burst into tears, sweeping his bowl and chopsticks off the table. Bad mom. You're a bad mom. Why did Dad marry you? You bad woman. I want Aunt Liliana to be my mom. Wailing echoed shrilly in the empty villa. I calmly drank my porridge, silently turning away. Capybars don't comfort people. Not interfering is my ultimate boundary. Seeing I wasn't reacting, Oscar cried louder, sweeping all the remaining dishes off the table. Children know best how to hurt, he cried, yelling that no wonder Dad liked Aunt Liliana, and not me. I ignored him, though the pain in my chest was unbearable. I gently put down my bowl and sat on the sofa watching the news. This was one of my main ways of getting information about this world. Smartphones were too complicated. I'd only learned the very basics of messaging in 2 months. The TV was simpler. What are you doing? When Kim walked in, he saw the mess on the dining table. Oscar, as if finally finding his protector, scurried over to Kim, tattling on my alleged misdeeds that morning. M, who hadn't been home all night, picked him up and stormed over to me. It was just a joke from your son. Do you have to be so unreasonable? He's so young. What if he hurts his throat crying? Willow Gray. If you can't even handle such a small matter, then don't bother taking care of our son. I nodded softly, slightly tilting my head to continue watching TV. What's that supposed to mean? Don't think pretending to be mute will work. If this happens again, I won't hesitate to let Liliana move in with us. Who was still fuming, suddenly got even angrier. He nodded repeatedly. Fine, you said it. Don't you dare regret it. Perhaps afraid I'd change my mind, he promptly made a phone call. As he was on the phone, the TV happened to be reporting on last night's amusement park fireworks display. Last night, our city's largest amusement park was rented out by Ued-Industry CEO Kim Thorne, who ignited all the stored fireworks at once to delight his girlfriend. The two were seen embracing passionately, a truly enviable sight. Though the TV only showed 2 embracing backs, they still looked incredibly well matched. Kim's jacket was still on. Liliana. He turned around at that moment, and the jacket he was wearing suddenly became a glaring symbol. Seemingly awkward, he nervously adjusted the glasses on his nose. Let me explain. It's not what you think. Last night was just. My face paled, and I urgently stood up from the sofa. No need to explain. I believe you. I tried my best to keep my voice flat, then hurried towards the bedroom. Kim, however, relentlessly followed me. Hello, Gray. What exactly are you making a fuss about? Liliana is just my sister. It's only right for me to do these things for her. Can't you stop believing what the TV says? But with every word he spoke, my heart ached a little more. Standing on the stairs, I simply fainted from the pain. In a haze, I seemed to hear Kim's condescending voice behind me. Don't think pretending to faint works on me. Get up now. Just keep pretending. Let's see how long you can keep it up. Before losing consciousness completely, I only heard a door closing. Kim truly didn't bother with me. I quietly condemned his irresponsibility in my heart, still unable to understand why the original owner fell in love with such a person. But every time I wanted to suggest divorce, an unyielding obsession prevented me from speaking those words. When I woke from unconsciousness, the house was empty. But for some reason, I suddenly felt a sense of relief. I knew the state was very wrong. So, I booked an appointment with a psychologist online to check if there was something wrong with his body. Your condition is provisionally diagnosed as emotional syndrome, and it's quite severe given your situation. We recommend you first try to redirect your emotions. All feelings can become a focus, but a person absolutely cannot be a mental crutch. If that truly doesn't work, then we'll have to consider EMIT, electroconvulsive therapy. On the way home from the hospital, the doctor's words echoed in my ears. Pushing open the front door, I heard laughter from inside. Liliana's luggage was still in the living room, but she was already sitting on the sofa sharing a cake with Kim and Oscar. Kim fed Liliana a piece of cake and Oscar chuckled, saying Dad was playing favorites. They looked like a picture-perfect family of three until I walked in. Their smiles instantly vanished. Oscar snorted and turned his head away, and Kim's expression also soured. What, not pretending to faint anymore? I nodded calmly, my mood still peaceful. My chest didn't ache, which even surprised me. I ignored them and walked straight towards the bedroom. The sound of a suitcase being dragged followed me. Willow, I turned around. Ileana looked at me, her cheeks slightly flushed with shyness. Willow, I just toured the house. And I really love your Aunt Kim's room. Can you let me have it? At her words, even the father and son standing nearby stared at me. Their eyes seemed to say that if I caused any trouble, they would immediately jump out and accuse me. But throwing a tantrum was inherently difficult for me. Okay, it's yours. Liliana's face broke into a clear, challenging smile. Thank you, Willow. I knew you wouldn't mind. Could you help me pack up? My self-care skills are a bit weak. Kim always says you're very good at housework. Thank you, Willow. The naked sarcasm in her words still felt offensive. I calmly took her suitcase and kicked it all the way down the stairs. Her smile hadn't even faded when she heard the sound of the suitcase crashing to the floor. Willow Gray, what are you doing? Kim rushed over immediately, accusing me. If you didn't want to, you should have just said so. Why kick Liliana's suitcase? Seeing Kim defending her, Liliana's eyes instantly reddened. Kim, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but the porcelain inside the suitcase is a year's worth of my work. She opened the suitcase and, as expected, the porcelain was shattered. Kim couldn't stand to see his beloved cry, so he quickly pulled her into his arms, comforting her. It's okay. It's okay. I'll make her apologize to you. I'll make her pay for this porcelain. A simple ceramic jar wouldn't be worth much. But Kim grabbed my hand. Willow Gray, apologize. Suppressing the glee in my chest, I shook my head. Don't make me say it a second time. Apologize, Miss Gray. If you're angry at me, that's fine, but please don't wantonly destroy my work. She trailed off, a mist forming in her eyes again, making her look utterly pitiful. No apology. You deserved it. I simply stated that she deserved it. Who in their right mind packs porcelain, not clothes, in a moving suitcase? Willow Gray, if you don't apologize now, we're getting divorced today, and you can get out of this house right now. I originally thought I would be very sad. Unexpectedly, my chest continued to beat steadily. I pulled my hand free, and quickly went to the room to pack my luggage. If you leave, don't ever come back. I nodded. As I passed Liliana, I took off my wedding ring and placed it beside her. This is to compensate for your porcelain. Seeing me take off my wedding ring, Kim finally panicked. Willow Gray, what is the meaning of this? I looked at the ring sitting in Liliana's palm and tilted my head. Compensation. Kim stared at me as if I'd suddenly started speaking another language. What? My wedding ring. You said we're getting divorced. His face changed. The smug confidence he'd worn only moments ago disappeared completely. He stepped toward me, but I calmly moved around him and continued packing. Willow, I was angry. I know. You don't have to take everything I say seriously. I paused and looked at him. Then don't say it. Kim's mouth opened, but no words came out. Behind him, Liliana's fingers tightened around my wedding ring. Kim, she whispered, maybe Willow really doesn't want to stay anymore. I glanced at her. She looked almost pleased. Unfortunately for her, I wasn't interested in fighting over Kim. I folded another shirt and placed it inside my suitcase. Oscar suddenly ran into the bedroom. Mom, you're really leaving? I looked at him. For the first time, there was no hatred in his eyes. Only confusion. You said you wanted Aunt Liliana to be your mother. His little face immediately crumpled. I was angry. You said it many times. I didn't mean it. I nodded. Okay. I zipped my suitcase. Oscar stared at me as though he'd expected me to cry, scream, or beg him to forgive me. Instead, I picked up my suitcase. Mom doesn't want me anymore. He threw himself onto the floor and started crying. Kim immediately glared at me. Willow, what kind of mother are you? I looked down at Oscar, then at Kim, then at Liliana. 3 people who had spent 2 months making it perfectly clear that they didn't need me. Yet somehow, the moment I actually left, they were terrified. I think I'm a pretty good mother.
Kim scoffed.
Then why are you abandoning your son? I blinked.
Because he asked me to.
Oscar stopped crying. Kim's expression froze. I continued toward the front door. I spent 2 months trying to become the mother he wanted. I cooked his favorite meals, remembered his school schedule, bought the things he liked, and listened whenever he complained about me. I glanced back, but he already chose someone else. Liliana's expression stiffened. Kim's face became complicated. I smiled faintly. That's okay. Capybaras don't fight over territory that doesn't belong to them. Neither of them understood what I meant. Honestly, neither did I. I just knew I felt lighter. I opened the door. Then my chest suddenly tightened. A sharp pain shot through me. I stopped. My hand gripped the doorframe. Kim immediately rushed forward. Willow. I looked at him. His eyes were filled with panic. And strangely, my heart hurt more. Not because I loved him. Because somewhere deep inside this body, the original owner still did. She had spent years loving this man. Even after everything. Even now. The doctor had called it an emotional syndrome. But I suddenly understood. These emotions weren't mine. They were hers. Her love. Her attachment. Her desperation. Her refusal to let go. And if I kept living inside this body, I couldn't simply pretend those feelings didn't exist. I needed to separate myself from them. So I took a slow breath. Kim. I'm taking you to the hospital.
No. He stopped.
I'm leaving. Willow. I don't want to die here. The color drained from his face. Liliana stepped forward. Willow, you're being dramatic. I turned toward her. My body nearly collapsed from emotional pain today. She went quiet. I smiled. Maybe that's dramatic to you. Then I walked out. Kim followed me all the way to the driveway. Where are you going? Somewhere peaceful. You don't have anywhere to go. I'll find somewhere. Willow. I turned around. He stood beneath the porch light, looking strangely lost. For the first time, I noticed something I'd never bothered to notice before. Kim wasn't angry. He was scared. Not scared of losing his wife. Scared of losing the person who had always been there. The person who cooked. The person who waited. The person who forgave. The person who never left. I suddenly felt a little sorry for him. Then I remembered I was a capybara. And being emotionally responsible for another adult sounded exhausting. So I waved. Goodbye. I got into a taxi and left. Behind me, Kim remained standing in the driveway. He didn't know that the moment I disappeared around the corner, my chest stopped hurting. Completely. For the first time since transmigrating into this body, I could breathe normally. I leaned back against the seat. Wow. The driver glanced at me through the mirror. Miss, are you okay? I smiled. I'm excellent. I checked my bank account. The original owner had been married to Kim for 5 years, but she'd never touched the money she'd earned before marriage. There was enough to rent a small apartment and live comfortably for years. Perfect. I booked the nicest little apartment I could find near a park. There was a pond. There were trees. And, most importantly, nobody there wanted me to make breakfast. I unpacked my belongings, changed into comfortable pajamas, and ordered a giant bowl of vegetables. Then I sat beside the window and watched the city lights. Peace. This was what I'd been missing. The next morning, I woke up naturally. No alarm. No breakfast. No husband. No child screaming about food. No childhood sweetheart wandering around my house. I stretched. Then I heard my phone ringing. It was Kim. I stared at the screen. Declined. He called again. Declined. Again. Declined. Finally, a message appeared. Kim, come home. We need to talk. I deleted it. 5 minutes later, another message arrived. Kim, Oscar is asking for you. I stared at it for a moment. Then I typed. Willow. He has the mother he wanted. I put my phone down. 10 seconds later, it rang again. This time, I answered. What? There was a long silence. Then Kim's voice came through, strangely hoarse. Willow, Oscar keeps asking when you're coming back. Tell him I'm not. He hasn't eaten. There's food. He says he doesn't want Aunt Liliana's cooking. I blinked. That was interesting. Kim continued. He wants your fish porridge. I looked down at my breakfast. Then he can learn to cook. Kim went silent. Then he whispered, Willow, please come home. I frowned. Why? Because, he stopped. His breathing became uneven. Because the house doesn't feel like home without you. I almost laughed. But before I could answer, I heard another voice in the background. Liliana. Kim, breakfast is ready. The call went silent again. Then Kim said, I have to go. He hung up. I put the phone down. 5 minutes later, I ordered myself another bowl of vegetables. My peaceful life had officially begun. Unfortunately, I had forgotten one very important thing. I had inherited the tragic wife's emotions, but I had also inherited everything that belonged to her, including her enemies. And one of them had just discovered that Willow Gray was no longer the woman who would quietly endure anything. By noon, my phone was filled with messages. Not from Kim. From lawyers, bank managers, business partners, and one very unfamiliar number. The final message contained only 6 words. Mrs. Gray, your husband has been hiding something. I stared at the message for 2 seconds before deleting it. I wasn't interested. Whatever Kim was hiding could remain hidden. I had finally found peace, and I intended to enjoy it. For the next week, I lived like a proper capybara. I slept until I woke up naturally, ate whatever I wanted, watched television, wandered around the park, and spent absolutely zero energy worrying about Kim Thorne. Then, on the 8th day, someone knocked on my door. I opened it and found Kim standing outside. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair was messy, and he looked exhausted. Willow. I blinked. Why are you here? Can I come in? Sure. He stepped inside. I went back to the sofa and continued eating my snacks. Kim stood there awkwardly. You really aren't coming home?
No.
You don't miss Oscar?
I thought about it.
A little. His expression brightened. But I don't miss the screaming. His smile disappeared. I continued eating. How is Liliana? Kim's face tightened. She's gone. I looked up. Gone where? She moved out.
Why?
Kim rubbed his forehead. Because I told her I couldn't marry her. I nearly choked on my snack. You wanted to marry her? I thought I did. He sat across from me. But after you left, everything changed. I waited.
He sighed.
Oscar kept asking for you. He refused Liliana's cooking. He wouldn't let her help with his homework. He kept saying he wanted his mom. I nodded. That's unfortunate.
Kim looked at me.
You're really not angry?
No.
You're not jealous?
No.
You're not going to ask why I chose her? I shook my head. Why would I? He stared at me like I was an unsolvable problem. Then he quietly said, because you're my wife. I tilted my head. Not anymore. His face went pale. You took your ring off. Yes. You meant it? Very much.
Kim suddenly grabbed his chest.
I immediately stood up. Are you having a heart attack? No. Then why are you holding your chest? He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Because it hurts. I stared at him. Then I slowly sat back down. That's inconvenient. He almost laughed, but his eyes turned red instead. I know I treated you badly. Yes. I know I took you for granted. Yes. I know I hurt you. Yes. I'll change. I looked at him seriously. Kim, you don't have to. He froze. I've already decided. I didn't hate him. I didn't want revenge. I didn't even want him miserable. I simply didn't want him anymore. That was probably the strangest thing about being a capybara. Once I decided something wasn't worth the trouble, I let it go. Kim remained silent for a long time. Then he asked, is there really no chance? I smiled. You should go home. This is your home. I shook my head.
No.
This is where I live. He lowered his head. For some reason, watching him leave didn't hurt. My chest remained perfectly calm. The original owner's emotions were still there, but they were fading. Perhaps because she had finally realized something her stubborn heart had refused to accept. Loving someone didn't mean you had to stay with them. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Kim signed everything without fighting me. He gave me the apartment I'd chosen, returned every personal belonging that belonged to me, and even apologized to my parents. Oscar visited me occasionally. He was quieter now. One afternoon, he sat beside me while I watched television. Mom. I'm sorry. I looked at him. For what? For saying I wanted Aunt Liliana to be my mom. I smiled. You were a kid. But I really hurt you. I was quiet for a moment. Then I handed him a bowl of fish porridge.
Eat.
His eyes immediately lit up. My favorite. Apparently, he took a bite. Then he frowned. It's a little salty. I took the bowl back. Then don't eat it. He immediately grabbed it again. No. It's good. I laughed. Maybe I wasn't completely emotionless after all. Maybe being a capybara didn't mean I had no feelings. It simply meant I preferred peace over unnecessary drama. As for Kim, I heard he eventually stopped seeing Liliana. He never remarried. He occasionally sent me messages. I rarely answered. One day, years later, I received one last message. Kim, I hope you're happy. I looked at it for a while. Then I smiled. Willow, I am. I put my phone down and returned to my favorite spot by the pond. The sun was warm. The water was calm. And nobody was asking me to make breakfast. Honestly, life was perfect.